Hello and welcome to episode 135 of the She Must Knit podcast. My name is Erin and thank you so much for spending some of your time with me today. I know guys, it has been a couple of weeks. It has been a little longer than I was intending, but I just haven't been able to find a time to really sit down and record. If you remember, I was doing Thursdays for a little while because that's the day that Dennis would go into work, so at least once a week I would have a day that I had the house mostly to myself and I could sit down and try and get things done. But the last couple of weeks he hasn't been required to go into work, so yeah, I keep kind of thinking, oh, I'll do it this day, and then it doesn't work out, and then the weekends are a little more chaotic, and so that hasn't been working out. And then I wasn't actually even planning on doing this today, so if this episode seems a little more disorganized than usual, that it is probably because I kind of just, that when the idea occurred to me, I just kind of grabbed everything and threw things together, and yeah, and it's already been a bit of a mess because Kira is she's in a playful mood today, which is fine. She's 3, but you can probably hear her in the background. She's upstairs in her room right now because that's the farthest place I could get her to go and play, and she's still being very, very loud, but that's okay. But yeah, it's been a day, and I have a feeling now, because it's been at least 1 or 2 hours since Dennis left, that he could probably walk through that door any minute now, and this whole thing is going to be a bust anyway. So I'm going to do my best. We're going to try and get through this and share with you what I have been working on. It has not been as much as I was hoping. I've just been distracted by other things. I'll try and say that, like, get through this as concisely as possible. But basically, Avery is 11 now. She's going to be turning 12 this year, and we decorated her room from the, you know how they start off with a certain room when they're a baby, and then there's usually a certain point of time where you might decorate it a little bit for when they're older, and we did that when she was 5, and for the most part, you know, the colors we picked and everything are still very appropriate for her, and she still likes them, but she just wants a little bit of a change. She wants it to kind of be more of like a tween room and just reflect her interest a little bit more, and we've been trying to do that, I've been trying to do that on as much of a budget as possible by using things that we already have in the house, and then for her birthday and for Christmas, she's going to get some kind of decor pieces just to kind of dress things up a bit. But one of the things she really wanted in her room was a desk, and I had parts of a desk in the basement from before when I was doing my jewelry design, and I was using the drawers over in that corner to organize and store all the beads that I use for my stitch markers. Well, in order for her to have the top part of the desk in her room and have a fully functioning desk, she needed those drawers, and so I had to basically, and I'm still in the process of this, but I have to rehome all the stuff that was in those drawers. And so all my beads, all my findings, all my sewing supplies, everything that I had organized in those drawers for my business, basically, I've had to rehome and reorganize, and it has been a process. So I'm still in that process. I have one more of those drawers. If you're familiar with like the IKEA Alex drawers with all those little drawers, they're really nice sets of drawers. But yeah, like trying to find new homes for things when they were already kind of in their ideal home without buying new organizational stuff, it's been a challenge. But it has made me really go through the basement and find things that weren't being used and like repurpose things and whatever. So we are in the process of doing that. Maybe if you guys if you're someone who likes to watch our Vlogmases in December, we'll probably share some bits and pieces about her room then, because I have a feeling it's going to go right to the end of the year, just because, like I said, for her birthday and for Christmas, she's going to be getting some of these items. So it's kind of like a slow process. But yeah. So my time has been taken by other things, and I haven't been knitting as much as I want. But we are going to start off with the goals that I left with in the last episode, the goals that I gave myself, things that I was hoping to work on, things that I was hoping to finish for this episode. Just as a reminder, I wanted to have Kira's gift bags done and sewed. I wanted to start my next spinning fiber. I wanted to have Owen socks completely finished. My birthday socks, I wanted to have the first sock almost done. I wanted to have my exploration station completely done. And then I wanted to work on my chameleon. And spoiler, like I just said, I didn't reach all my goals for this episode, but I did reach some, and there's been some other things that I've been working on as well. So let's start with the thing that I was pretty sure I was going to have finished, and that was my goal, was to finish them, and I did finish them, and that was Owen's Microstripe socks. So did I leave a marker in? I don't think I did. I think in the last episode I had finished the first sock, I know that for sure, and I think I was almost done the second sock, which is why I was pretty sure I'd be able to finish the socks completely for this episode. And I think this was the first sock. Oh, wait a minute, I do have a marker in there. Is this an accurate marker? If you remember, is this an accurate marker? Had I finished the first sock and this is where I was on the second sock? If so, then I got quite a chunk done. So I think this was the first sock that I had finished, and then this is the second sock. And if you've been watching all year, you know that this is the year of Microstripe socks. I'm having so much fun with that technique. If you're not familiar, I think it's more known as helical knitting, and if you do a search on YouTube, you can find a video. That's how I learned. It's very, very simple. You're basically just alternating yarns, doing one row of one yarn, the next row in another yarn, and you're just making sure not to cross them at the join, and then you get these perfect little stripes. Now I will say, I will show you a better example in a minute where you can really see the stripes. This is not the best example because this is something that I was experimenting with. So a lot of the socks that I've done this year, I've used a solid for the contrast, so like a solid for the cuff, a solid that goes all throughout the yarn, and then a solid for the toes. What I wanted to try and experiment with this pair was using like a variegated, or like whatever the patterned yarn was, using that for the cuff and all through the sock, and then using a solid for the middle of the sock. And for the middle, I had, I don't know where the other one is, but I had this set of 50-gram yarns, like sock yarns, in these bright kind of solid tweeds. So there was this lime green, and then there was an aqua, and it came as a set. And I wanted to use that as the body of the socks, and then I combined it with this kind of speckly variegated color here. Now, why I mentioned a minute ago that this isn't the best example of Microstripe socks is because I find the way I like Microstripes the best in terms of how they look is when you pick two yarns that are completely contrasting. So if you pick a patterned yarn or a striping yarn, then that solid yarn that you're pairing with them, there's no color in the pattern yarn that is even remotely close to that solid, and that's what will make the stripes really stand out. And if you'll notice with this kind of variegated that I have here, there are kind of tones of that limey green and also some aquas in there, so that there are some similar colors to the solid yarns that I was using. And so you don't get the really, really crisp microstripes that you would if there was like no similarities. And so that just gives it a different look. I knew that was going to I knew that's how it was going to turn out, but I think it's very interesting just to see that effect. And when I talk about the other pair of socks that I'm working on, you hopefully will be able to see the difference in that. So I finished this pair of socks. This is the second pair of socks for my brother Owen. So far this year, my goal is to make them, each of my three brothers, 2 pairs of socks for Christmas this year. For the last couple of years, ever since Kira was on the way, they've only gotten 1 pair of socks at Christmas. And in previous years, I was making easily 2 to 3 pairs of socks each, so for each of my brothers, for Christmas every year. So this year will be the first year that they get more than 1 pair, and that is very exciting. The other exciting thing is that I think this is my 9th pair of socks this year, and last year my total number of socks, like pairs of socks that I made, was 8. That's what I did the whole year, and I've already beaten that, and we still have a couple of months left, so that is very exciting. I don't know if there's much else that I need to say about these. Just that, yeah, I reversed kind of what I had been doing with previous pairs where I used the patterned yarn all the way through. You can see that for the toes, I brought that solid yarn back in just because I wanted that yarn. There was no other place in the sock where that yarn could kind of show, like be shown by itself, and I wanted a little spot for that yarn to shine. So I did that in the toes. But otherwise, yeah, this is just my standard sock recipe that is, you know, vanilla sock, and then I used the strong heel as my heel technique. And I've talked about that in many an episode. If you have any specific questions about that or anything about the socks, just let me know, because I know every episode I talk about the socks and it can get repetitive. But so yeah, the other pair of socks that I was working on, and I was hoping to get more of this done. I know in my goals I said I just wanted to have the first sock almost done, but I think I was secretly hoping that I might even have the first sock done and the second sock cast on. But I did meet my goal technically, and I have the first sock almost done. So this is the other Microstripe pair that I am working on, and these were kind of my birthday socks for this year. Each July, because that's when my birthday is, I like to pick out some yarns or a yarn and make myself a pair of socks that are just for me, that are something I want to do. And this year I really wanted to work with this yarn here. I've had this in my stash for years and years and years. I know the episode where I first introduced these, I think I still had the label, and it was a club yarn, and I think it had the year on it. I forget if it was like 7 years, maybe 7 or 8 years that this was in my stash. And I finally decided that this was the year that I was going to cast this on, and I wanted to do a pair of Microstripe socks with it. And I really wanted to pair this yarn with an aqua. So I ended up having to dye this kind of aqua color. And I know it comes off on this in the screen, at least the way I see it, as more of a paler blue, but it really is a true like blue, green, turquoise. I might just have to take a picture of these in like natural daylight and insert them so that you can see the true color of this, because it really is, I think it's quite striking against the colors in this yarn. So I think I have my little marker in here. This is where I was when I shared these with you in the last episode. So I was able to finish the leg. I was able to get my heel going, my increases. I was able to turn the heel, and now I'm on the foot of the sock. And you can see by these markers here that I have done 30 rows. I like to put a marker in every 10 rows. I've got 30 rows done on the foot. And I believe for mine, I'll have to look. I don't know if I have notes on this anywhere. I think for my socks, I do 60 rows and then the toe. So I have about 30 rows left and then the toe. So if I were to spend, you know, a good chunk of time on these, I know I could get the first sock done and I could get that second sock cast on. I have a vision in my head. So back to my brother's socks. I only have one brother left who needs a pair of socks in order for all my brothers to have 2 pairs of socks for Christmas this year. And I really want to make him a pair of Microstripe socks as well, because then each of my brothers will have a pair of Microstripe socks, and then they will also have a pair of like non-Microstripe socks, just plain knitting or sock blank or something like that. And I know what I want to experiment with for his final pair for him, and I'm very excited to see how it looks and pick the yarns. I kind of know what yarns I want. I know at least one of them, but I'm not sure about the other one, but I know what kind of combination I want to do. But I'm really going to try and just focus and get this pair done before I cast those on, because while I can have 2 pairs of Microstripe socks on the needles on the go, it's just more cumbersome because like you have 2 skeins plus the needles and everything versus just one. So I'm gonna really try and work on those and try and find the time to work on those and get that done. But while we're talking about this, let's just, like I said earlier, I wanted to show you the difference. Hopefully you'll be able to, hopefully it will pick up in the camera. So this is how the Microstripe socks look when you have a distinct color difference between the main yarn and the contrast yarn. and then you can kind of see the difference there when there's a similarity in the colors. The stripes just kind of blend more and they don't look as crisp. So this is how I think Microstripe yarn or Microstripe socks really shine, is when you have those distinct color differences. So you could use two solid yarns if they're just completely different color families. If you're doing like this, a striping yarn and a solid, you just want to pick a solid yarn that is in no relation to the colors of the stripes in your striping yarn. Same if you're doing like a variegated, you just want to pick a yarn that just does not like match at all with what the main skein looks like. But I'm really loving how these are turning out. I'm gonna be very excited when those are finished. So I have one more pair of socks to talk about, and these actually weren't even on my goals list because when I was editing the last episode, I realized that like I had the thought to talk about them, and then I totally lost that thought in the video, and then I never got back to talking about them. But if you'll remember, I was talking about and showing off the finished sock blank socks that I made for my brother Evan, and those were kind of my on-the-go park knitting socks, and I had talked about how they were really convenient for that because the sock blank just doesn't get tangled in your knitting bag, and it's very easy to just kind of throw in, and throw in my park bag, take it on the go. It won't get tangled with anything. It was a really good project for over the summer. And I had meant to say that I was planning on starting another one of those because we weren't quite through, we're not quite through park season yet. We actually had this, this week it's summer. It's like midsummer type of weather. It's going to be super hot this week, all week. And next week I think is even supposed to be not too bad too. So we're still in the park weather. We're still in there were days where I'm going to be taking Kira to the park and I can bring my knitting with me. So I had meant to say in the last video that I was planning on casting another pair of socks that would be easy to take on the go, because Microstripe socks are they're just not as easy with the multiple. You got the multiple skeins and you got the alternating and whatever. They are just, stay at home on the desk, that kind of knitting. So I had meant to say that I was planning on casting on another pair and I was going to put that in my goals, and I totally lost that thought and I never got back to talking about it. But I did have that intention, and that is what I did. And so I actually have a few sock blanks in my stash that have been in there for a while. And this is the one that I decided to pull out to work on. This had a business card. Oh my goodness, see, I told you, I'm all disorganized. This had a business card wrapped up in it. I can't remember if I bought this sock blank when I was going through the whole sock blank phase, when the whole knitting community was going through the sock blank phase, or if I received this in a swap. But I do remember when I looked up the business, the Etsy store is still there, but they've been on a break this year, so I don't know what's going on. But she had some really fun yarns. So she does a lot of yarns with these kind of neon dyes, and so not just sock blanks, but she had like yarn skeins as well that use these bright neon dyes. If I can find that business card, I'll put the name of the shop here just in case you are interested in checking it out. But I had this in my stash, and I decided this would be really fun to work on for my next kind of park bag type project. And I wanted to do just plain knitting, nothing fancy, but I decided to bring in a contrast color. So I chose this, and if you remember, this was the yarn that was the other contender for my my Muppets Microstripe socks. If I wasn't going to dye a yarn to go with it, I was going to use this yarn from Stash. So I decided to use this with this sock blank because there's kind of this like purpley pink color here that I thought it would pick up on. And this is what I have so far. I hope that the lighting isn't blowing it out too much and that you can kind of see the colors there. But you can see how the polka dots are kind of gathering in just these like little areas. So this area here was where the yellow polka dots were, and we have the green polka dots, and they're kind of like, they don't obviously look like polka dots anymore, but you can kind of see how they're kind of gathering in circles. But then when we get up here to where I started the increases for my heel, they're starting to disperse a little bit more. So here with the orange and pink, you can see that they're not really kind of gathered in a little splotch there. Now they're starting to spread out. So it'll be interesting to see how that continues. And then also after I finish the heel, I tend to decrease my stitches. These are for me, so I start with 81 stitches, and then for the foot I go down to about 72 stitches. Just how, like, are they going to go back to this splotchy kind of patterning, or are they going to stay dispersed? Is it going to do something completely different? I don't know. But this is kind of what I've been working on more so than the Microstripe socks, just because this is a lot easier to pick up. I don't have to think about the alternating yarns. I can just kind of pick it up, grab it, knit a row, put it down, go do something else, that kind of thing. So I have been working on these more than the other ones, but this is the other pair that I've been working on. So I have these two pairs right now, and I'm going to really resist casting on another pair. Like I said, I really want to start those other Microstripe socks, but I'm going to really resist until my Microstripe socks are done. I really don't want to have two Microstripes on the needles. So that is all my sock knitting. I think that is actually all my knitting. That is all the knitting that I have been working on. Now, some of you might be saying, but Erin, where's the exploration station? You only had the lace border to go, and then that was going to be done. And that was a project from, I don't even, what did we figure out? 2019, I think? Is that when I casted it on? And I was so excited that I was going to be able to finish it. And then that project, that old whip was going to just be done, and it's on my bingo card. Well, the project specifically isn't, but finishing an old whip is on my bingo card, and so I was going to be able to knock off a square on my bingo card. Where is the exploration station? I have not touched it at all, and I'm pretty sure it's because I know that it's just the lace border at the end, and I just really don't enjoy knitting lace. It's just too much. It's too much mentally for me. Right now especially, but just even in general, because like you really have to keep track of your lace knitting and your stitches and make sure you have the right stitch count and everything. There's not a lot of fudging with lace, because otherwise it just doesn't look like it's supposed to look. I think it was last weekend, maybe on the Friday, I told myself, okay, once Kira is in bed, you are going to sit down, you are going to write out the lace repeat, you're going to count your stitches, you're going to make sure that you're, all set up and ready to go, and then you're going to get this started. And that way over the weekend I could just kind of work on it. That never happened. And really that's just what I have to do. I have to sit down, and I just have to get myself kind of in the right setup for it, so that it will be easier to pick up. I don't even think it's a very large lace border, so really once I get started on it, it shouldn't take me that long. But I know I can't work on it when there's even the possibility of Kira like interrupting me and distracting me. It's gonna have to be an evening thing. And I've been doing other things in the evenings than wanting to sit down and work on a lace border. So that didn't get touched. And then the other thing that I told myself for the goals for last episode was that I was going to work on my poor chameleon. I haven't touched that chameleon in months, and I really wanted to get it done this year, especially because also it will work for a square on my bingo card, and I didn't touch my chameleon at all either. So I don't know what to say about that. Again, it's just like figuring out a pattern. It's kind of a complicated pattern. It's sitting down and like getting into the right headspace for that. And sometimes when you want to knit, if you even have a moment for knitting, you just want to pick something that you don't have to get into a headspace for. You just want to pick something up and just like knit and not think about it. And I've been more into that kind of knitting right now than, like really getting into the nitty gritty of the pattern. So I haven't done any other knitting other than the socks, but I did do a little sewing. So let's do my next project here, because that was also on my goals list, was to finish the knitting bag, not the knitting bags, to finish the gift bags for Kira. So in the last episode, I showed you the fabric that I had ordered and had arrived and I had all set, and I had put on my goals list that I wanted to finish the bags, because I knew once the fabric was cut and ironed and everything prepped, it would really only take me like less than an hour to sew the bags, and it did. So I one day decided just to go downstairs, and I was able to I ordered a yard of fabric, and I was able to cut it into 3 pieces. I think the other yard that I had previously, I made 2 like big bags out of. So I wanted kind of 2 more medium bags, and that's what I knew I wanted 3 bags. So I got 2 more kind of medium bags out of that, and then 1 smaller bag. And I think these will work well. It's hard to judge with the sizes. If you've watched our previous Vlogmases, you'll know for many years now, I've done kind of the gift categories. So want, wear, need, read, and do. And so some of them, it's pretty easy. Like I knew that this smaller bag would be perfect for read. Like most books that you're gonna buy for children, whether they be novels or even larger books, are gonna fit in this bag. So I knew this, I could do 1 small bag and that would probably fit the books, or even a DVD, because I like to kind of get them a DVD as well to watch. So this will fit that. But other than that, like it's hard to predict what size and shape presents are going to be each year, especially for like little, like toddlers. Their gifts can be like these weird shaped bulky things. So I just have to hope and pray that the things that I think, at least one of the things I've got. Okay, this is your friendly reminder. It's October. Have you started your Christmas shopping yet? I have, and I don't want to say it's almost done, because there's still things I need to check off. But back in September, I made my list. I made my Kira list, and I made my Avery list, and I wrote down our categories, and I figured out what was going to fit in each of those categories for them, and what extra things I could put down for like when aunts and uncles and all those, like, grandmas and grandpas and whatever, are like, what can we get them for Christmas, and Avery's birthday's in December, what can we get her for her birthday. I wrote those all down, so I am all set, and I've slowly started to pick things up. So I know that at least some of the things that I've got for Kira, I think the do gift that I've picked out for her this year will fit in this, and I think clothing, if I got her like, some new tops and pants, that would fit in this. So I think they will still be, I think these will be good sizes. It's hard to know year to year what's going to be going in them, but I think they'll be fine, and we'll find out this Vlogmas if the things that I've picked up will indeed fit in these bags. So that was the other thing on my list. That was the only other sewing I did. And then I think the other thing that was on my goals list that I haven't touched on yet was I wanted to start the spinning. So if you remember in the last episode, I showed you a whole bunch of fibers, not a whole bunch, there was like, what, 4? And I said you could vote in the comments, and whatever fiber got the most votes is the one that I would start. Well, I checked just a couple of days ago just to make sure, because for a while there was 2 that were tied, and so I checked a couple of days ago to see if there were any new votes to kind of pull one into the lead, and at that time there wasn't. If there's been new comments since then, sorry, because we're gonna have to do something differently. But the last time I checked, there were still 2 that were basically tied. And the 2 that were tied were this one here, which is a freestyle, and then this one here, which is in Vancouver. Both of these are dyed by Fat Cat Knits. And it was funny because when I was editing the last episode and we were talking about the fiber and stuff, and I realized that I really don't have a lot of fiber in my stash. Like if I feel like spinning, like my choices are very limited at the moment, which is not a bad thing, but sometimes it's nice to have a little, choice. I went and I checked to see if Fat Cat Knits was still dyeing, and she is on Etsy, but she mostly dyes natural yarn or natural fibers, and I like superwash fibers. The things that I like to knit, and a lot of them are accessories or items for kids, I just like to have superwash fibers. So as much as I love how she dyes and the color combinations that she does, I love her dyeing style. I don't know, I probably won't be purchasing any more from her shop. However, it did make me go on a little search and see what other fiber dyers were on Etsy, and I found one that had some really fun stuff, and I might put one of those on my Christmas list. I'm always trying to find things to suggest for Dennis because he needs suggestions, and I just might throw that on there and just see if he picks up some fiber for Christmas. So back to the fiber. like I said, these two were tied. So I did not start spinning anything. So what I thought we could do today is, where's my little cup? We'll do a little coin toss and determine who's the winner. And then for the next episode, hopefully I will be able to start spinning something. Now I'm actually not going to toss a coin in the air. I know that's not going to end well. I know I'm not going to catch it. I know it's going to end up across the room rolling away. So I just put it in a little cup. I got a little coin and after I just said that it was going to fly and go somewhere. One moment, please. Okay, take two. So I've got my coin. I've got a little cup. I'm going to shake it and then I'm going to put it on the back of my hand. We're going to see what it is and we're going to see what fiber gets chosen for me to start. So we're going to do heads and tails, and I think we're going to do Vancouver for heads and freestyle for tails. Okay, so here we go. We're going to shake it up. We're going to put it on the back of my hand. I'm not looking. I don't know if you'll be able to see it first. Let's see, can we see in the viewfinder there? That looks like tails. That looks like tails. Yep. So we have tails there. So what did I say tails was? Tails was freestyle, right? And that's actually pretty exciting. Secretly, this is the one that I was hoping to win because I love bright, fun, rainbowy kind of colorways. So this one, what is this? Superwash Targi. So that will be fun. It's 6 ounces, so it's a little more than your typical 4-ounce braid. And I don't know, what do you think I should do with this? Should I split it down the middle and then do like a 2-ply, and so that the colors, you know, kind of maybe line up a little bit? Or should I just spin it end to end and do a chain ply? And so all the colors like stick together? That could be fun. You get less yardage with a chain ply, but I really love how a chain ply looks. Let me know down below, if you are a spinner, what is your favorite method? Like with the result that you get. Do you like the 2-ply? Do you like the chain ply? Do you like just doing like, you know, a single bulky ply? I don't know. I really enjoy the process of chain plying, but I understand you drastically cut down your yardage when you do that. So I might do a 2-ply. We'll see. I don't know. Okay, so that is that. So yeah, I think that's everything I wanted to talk with you about. Let's quickly try and figure out my goals for the next episode. And I'm gonna try to keep them reasonable just because, yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna have a lot of knitting time. Okay, I wanna have the fiber started. I think I can do that. I want to have the first sock done, or should I just say the whole pair? You know what? It's probably going to be a couple of weeks again. I want to have my Muppets Microstripe socks done. And I want to have the first sock of the Sock Blank socks done and the second one started. And I want to have my exploration station done. I really want to get that lace done and have that shawl done and knit and blocked. So I think we're going to leave my goals at that. Nice and simple, achievable. And if I end up doing anything on top of that, it'll just be a bonus. But yeah, I hope things have been going really well with you. We are in October. Let me know if you and your family is excited, or just you. I know October is Halloween is a fun time for lots of people. But yeah, let me know if you are all geared up for Halloween. I wasn't sure what we were gonna do this year because, yeah, like with the 2 girls now, Avery really enjoys having costumes that kind of go together, and we just were not finding anything that both Kira wanted to be, but then there was something that Avery could be that kind of would go with that. And also, I don't really like, I know you can make costumes, but I don't have the energy I don't have the energy to make 2 costumes. Last year I made kind of one for Avery and I could do that. But yeah, I just had no idea what we were going to do. I had no ideas for costumes, that even if I wanted to pick up a costume, what we were going to pick up. And then finally, Avery said that she'd be happy being a banana again. We bought, I think 3 years ago, we bought this banana costume for her. Was it before Kira was even around? I don't know. We bought her a banana costume. And that thing has well earned, like, I have gotten my money's worth out of that banana costume. But she said that she'd be quite happy to wear it again. It's a silly costume. It's really funny. She looks funny in it. She likes it. And then 2 years ago, she was a banana, and then Kira was a monkey. And that time, the monkey costume was quite big on her. And so I think it will fit her properly now. So, you know what? We're just going to be a monkey and a banana again this year and call it a day, which is great for me because I don't have to make anything. I don't have to buy anything. We are set for Halloween. So let me know, what are your kids talking about being for Halloween this year? Do you have to make it? Are you going to buy it? Or do you think they're going to change their mind right before Halloween comes? I don't know. I think we're actually going to put up some decorations this year. We don't usually, but the neighbors have really gotten into it since the pandemic, and so I feel like we need to at least put up some lights or something. But I am going to leave it at that. I hope you guys have had a great couple of weeks. I hope you are working on all the things that bring you joy, and I will talk to you soon.